It's July 17th, 1955 in Anaheim, California, at the happiest place on earth. Two men stand in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle. Walt Disney, the world-class entertainer, and his good friend, TV personality Art Linkletter, the host of Dateline Disney, the live TV special covering Disneyland's opening day. It's the final shot of the 90-minute broadcast. Art puts his arm around Walt and wraps up the show.
Let's go into Fantasyland and have some fun. Goodbye, folks.
As the two men turn from the camera and walk towards the castle, Walt is all smiles. The Dateline Disney broadcast has been a tremendous success. 90 million Americans tuned in to get a glimpse of Walt's newest creation. 90 million potential customers. But underneath his famous smile, Walt is fuming. Throughout the day, as Walt ran from place to place, frantically changing costumes and hustling to make the next shot, he began to hear rumors of problems in the park. 10,000 people were invited to the soft opening, but nearly 30,000 showed up. Fistfights broke out in the sweltering 100-degree heat. Rides broke down. Restaurants ran out of food. Lines were so long, many guests gave up and went home. All the while, Walt was forced to smile for the cameras and put on a happy face. But after the broadcast, when Walt bursts into the office of Disneyland's general manager, C.V. Wood, he isn't smiling anymore. "What in the hell's going on out there, Woody?" "Calm down, Walt. Don't tell me to calm down. The Mark Twain steamboat sank. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride didn't make it past lunch. And I hear the lines to the restroom are so long, people are going on the trees. It's the first day, Walt. Hiccups are to be expected. There was a gas leak at Fantasyland. We're lucky the place didn't go up in flames. I don't have to tell you that there's press out there, Woody. National press." Out of the 10,000 invited guests, many were journalists. Walt has banked his reputation and his livelihood on Disneyland. He invested his own money, selling a vacation home and borrowing against a life insurance policy. The last thing he needs is a slew of bad reviews or bad word of mouth from tens of thousands of uninvited guests. We just weren't ready for this, Walt. You weren't ready for this. You're the general manager, Woody. This park is your responsibility. We'll get this corrected. Tomorrow is the official public opening. That means paying customers. I won't stomach a repeat of what happened here today. Do you understand me? Yes, Mr. Disney. Turn this around, or we'll all be looking at the unemployment line. Walt would forever refer to Disneyland's opening day as Black Sunday. The reviews the next morning were scathing, calling the park a disappointment, a nightmare, and a $17 million people trap. But with his reputation and his fortune on the line, Walt was determined to turn things around. And he did it fast. He made personnel changes at the top, eventually firing his general manager, C.V. Wood. He brought on more staff to handle the crowds, and he launched bigger and better attractions. Soon enough, Walt's efforts began to pay off. By the end of September, the 1 millionth visitor entered the park. By the end of 1955, Walt's company had taken in $24 million, over twice the revenue from the previous year. But Walt was also a perfectionist. He relished his victories, but he obsessed over his mistakes. And Disneyland had been riddled with them. Which is why Walt Disney was so eager to try it all again. As he set his sights on creating a second theme park, Walt was determined to achieve perfection, to build a park that was 10 times the size of Disneyland, and hopefully 10 times the profit. From Wondery, I'm Lindsey Graham, and this is Business Movers. Behind every successful business is a story. It begins with a vision, and then a leap of faith. Along the way, people make bold decisions, ride through booms and busts, and sometimes they find success. Before I began hosting shows like American Scandal, American History Tellers, and producing audio dramas like 1865, I got my master's in business because I've always been interested in how businesses work, how they grow, how they thrive. In business school, we looked at case studies. How did this business succeed? Why did that business fail? On Business Movers, we'll ask those same questions and we'll dive into the true stories of the brilliant but all too human business leaders who risked it all, the critical moments that led to their triumph or failure, and the ideas that transformed the way we live our lives. We begin with a 4-episode series about Walt Disney and what drove his desire to build a bigger and better theme park in Orlando, Florida. Walter Walt Elias Disney once wrote, "We don't look backwards for very long. We keep moving forward, opening up new doors and doing new things because we're curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths." But Walt Disney's path was littered with failures. After being fired from the Kansas City Star for lacking imagination, Walt struck out on his own and started an animation company called Laugh-O-Gram Studios. But within 2 years, it was upside down. Still, Walt persisted. He learned from his mistakes. He adapted and evolved. Eventually, he rose from bankrupt entrepreneur to arguably the greatest showman of all time. Walt was a man of extraordinary vision. He had a unique ability to imagine what many others could not see. His grand vision was always his North Star. In 1923, that vision led Walt to Hollywood, where he'd eventually create a cartoon mouse that sparked the golden age of animation. That same year, it drove Walt to found the studio that would become the Walt Disney Company, and it helped Walt produce over 150 films and win 32 Academy Awards, the most ever earned by a single individual. And in 1955, that vision helped Walt launch the first of what would ultimately be 12 Disney-themed amusement parks scattered at resorts all across the globe. In 2019, Disneyland hosted nearly 20 million visitors, and since its launch in 1955, Disneyland has been the heart of the Disney brand and one of its biggest sources of revenue. Disneyland is the happiest place on earth, but it's also a business, and Walt, the shrewd entrepreneur, was a cutthroat businessman driven by a bold vision and a relentless pursuit of a better bottom line. While Walt's movies were critically acclaimed, they didn't always make money, but after Disneyland got over its rocky start, it made money, and a lot of it. In 1957 alone, the park grossed more than $11 million, well over $100 million today. But Walt was not motivated by dollars alone. He was also driven by a desire for perfection. Once at a showing of Fantasia, when a journalist asked Walt why he was rearranging chairs at his own movie screening, Walt replied, "Because I like things just so." Walt's desire for perfection drove him to improve on Disneyland and create a second theme park. As he searched for the perfect location, Walt envisioned something bigger and better than Disneyland, something new and something perfect, a total destination resort, a city of tomorrow. This is episode 1, Project Future. It's November 1963 in St. Louis, Missouri. Walt Disney has come to town 9 months after construction began on the Gateway Arch, America's tallest man-made monument. St. Louis is a town on the rise, and today Disney brings with him the potential for another massive project, a second Disney theme park. The finances are sorted, the paperwork's been drafted. All that's left is to put pen to paper, which is why Walt Disney, his executives, and a group of local politicians and business leaders have gathered for a celebratory dinner. Walt sits at the head of the table. He looks dapper, with his neatly groomed mustache and slick, graying hair. All smiles, Walt proposes a toast. Here's to a bright and successful future and a fruitful partnership. After considering upwards of a dozen cities, Walt chose St. Louis, in no small part because the locals have been easy to work with. But that's all about to change, because there's one dinner guest who is not smiling. August Gussie Busch Jr., the successful St. Louis beer magnate. Gussie is clearly skeptical of Walt Disney's theme park, and he's about to blow the deal. Well, Mr. Disney, looks like everything's in place, but what about liquor? I beg your pardon? You heard me. Gussie's blunt question sucks